Today we're live on Zoom and on YouTube at the same time. So can you confirm, say that you are able to hear me well first, and you can see my screen well. That's for YouTube and Zoom. Good. People here on hear you and you can see me. All right. Well, that is actually great news. Okay. Let's then start with okay, so welcome everybody. Today's live coverage will be in two languages. So we'll speak a little bit in Arabic and we'll speak a little bit in English, but mainly it's going to be in English. And of course, today we are waiting for the Federal Reserve decision, which will be announced in about like 30 or 25 minutes from now. Today's decision is very important, and it's very significant because of the situation in the States and the situation in all over the world when it comes to, when it comes to inflation. And this is when central banks is likely to start intervening, or at least to see some change in their policies. And this is what we have seen over the past even 24 hours. Some of the central banks already decided to intervene by raising interest rates, including Chile, which increased the interest rates by around 125 basis points in one meeting. The Federal Reserve today, most likely, we're unlikely to see any kind of rate hikes. But at the same time, we're also waiting on whether the Federal Reserve will taper faster than before, which is what. 1 second. Yeah, you can say whatever you want, Mohammed. So the main thing that everybody is the concentration is on how much the Federal Reserve will taper again, because the previous meeting, the Federal Reserve announced that they will taper by 15 billion. Now the talks in the markets at least we're talking about 30 billion. So any kind of surprise above or under this will be significant event for the markets, and we are likely to see huge volatility coming forward. Would like to put some rules again. If you're new here, like the first time that you're seeing us either on YouTube or even on YouTube or on Zoom, I would like just to remind everyone that we do not react to the data. We basically read the full statement first. We understand what does it mean for the market, what does it mean for the economy, what does it mean for equities, and then we'll have to wait for what do we always wait for? Let's ask this question first. What do we always wait for after the news? What do we always wait for before we trade? I'm gonna see what's the issue here, because it shouldn't be. Entry point, we wait to trade to come to us. Great, okay, pullback, perfect. Who's else? Okay, well, at least somebody's like the main two answers were actually correct. So I don't really like that Zoom broadcasting much, but anyway. Okay, so yes, we will wait for the pullback, and then we'll breathe, and then we will take the trade. Now I'm going to switch a little bit into Arabic, and then we'll switch back to English. اليوم قرار البنك الاحتياطي الفدرالي الامريكي والجميع ينتظر هذا القرار لسبب مهم جدا، بأنه الاستمرارية التي شهدناها بارتفاع معدلات التضخم، والشيء الأهم من ذلك بأنه أصبح الحديث الآن ليس فقط على موضوع تخفيف التيسير الكمي، بينما على احتمالات رفع أسعار الفوائد. في هذا الاجتماع غالبا لن يكون لدينا رفع لأسعار الفوائد، بينما الشيء الرئيسي في هذا الاجتماع هو ما هو كمية التخفيف أو تسريع التخفيف. الاجتماع الماضي تم الإعلان عن 15 مليار دولار شهريا. في هذا الاجتماع الحديث حاليا على 30 مليار دولار لكي ينهي أو لكي يتم انتهاء برنامج التيسير الكمي في مارس المقبل. أي رقم تحت أو أعلى من هذا الرقم سيكون له تأثير كبير على الأسواق، سيكون له تغير في توقعات الأسواق. قبل الحديث عن أي شيء، احتمالية أن يكون لدينا تداولات أم لا نعلم، بحسب ما يمكن أن تشهده الأسواق، أو بحسب الحركة التي نشهدها، وبحسب القرار. لن نقوم بالتفاعل مع الأرقام بمجرد، أو القرار بمجرد الإعلان عنه. نقرأ البيان، نقرأ كل I'm speaking in Arabic and in English both. Okay. نقرأ البيان. ممكن نقرأ أولا على التأثيرات على مجمل الأسواق، على أسواق السندات كذلك الأمر، قبيل أن ننتظر بعد التصحيح لكل الأسواق قبل أن نتحدث عن أي عمليات جديدة. All the trades will be made live. It will be shown on the screen, and I'm gonna be basically saying if I'm taking this trade or this trade. It will all be clear for everybody. Okay, and at the same time, it's going to be a little bit in Arabic, a little bit in English, so in both ways. Okay, but mainly the mainstream is going to be in English, but at the same time, I will also explain everything in Arabic. So اللغة الرئيسية ستكون الإنجليزية، لكن بنفس الوقت سأتحدث باللغتين العربية والإنجليزية، لكن الشيء الرئيسي سيكون باللغة الإنجليزية. تمام. واي حد عنده اي سؤال يكتبه باللغه العربيه، على اساس اقدر ممكن انه اجاوب على الاسئله ايضا باللغه العربيه تبعا. Okay, everything's ready. Everybody is ready. So let's hope that today will be a good day. So for the past just 24 hours, we saw like some sort of a very interesting chart for the US dollar. And let's just switch a little bit here to Bloomberg 87. And this is usually, this is kind of a bullish pattern on the daily chart. It keeps repeating itself over and over and over. And if we look back, every time the dollar index keeps on holding the 50 and the 10 and the 20 moving average on the daily chart, we see some sort of a retracement and then some sort of what is it called? Consolidation and then a breakout. This is exactly almost would be the same as this one, but would this be the same? Not sure about that. It might be a fake breakout, who knows? But for the time being, this is looking very, very bullish. Even the RSI indicator is still looking good, a little bit to 62, but I still like it. So it all depends on the Federal Reserve decision today. We will see if the Federal Reserve will be tapering faster than expected or less fast than expected. What's the market expectations? But nothing is clear direction. That's the problem. We can say that I wish if it was a clear direction, but we look at technicals. That's what technicals is telling us, at least, that the dollar may actually continue to go higher, but we need the fundamental catalyst, which might come actually through the Fed. النموذج الذي أمامكم هو نموذج يتم رؤيته في المؤشرات، أو خصوصا على المؤشر العام للدولار الأمريكي بشكل مجدول، أو نراه بشكل دائم يتكرر. خلال اليومين الماضيين تم اختراق المثلث، وبدأنا بالحديث عن اتجاه جديد نحو الأعلى، لكنه يحتاج إلى حافز أساسي، والذي قد يأتي من قبل الفدرالي. لكن من الناحية التقنية الوضع إيجابي حتى اللحظة. أي تعديل على هذه النظرة سيكون بسبب الفدرالي. لذلك من جديد لن نتفاعل مع الأسواق، سننتظر حتى قراءة البيان بالكامل، ومن ثم نحدد ما الذي سيتم. Okay. No translator, but I'm speaking in both languages. I'm speaking in Arabic and English, mainly in English, and then a little bit in Arabic. Okay, because we have people from all over the world. If you would like, you can also just type where are you from, so we can also figure out what are we going to do. Okay. So first of all, just also let's have a look at something called whatever. Okay, this is the Federal Reserve Fed Fund futures, or this is what the market is expecting, or when is the first rate hike the market is expecting. So far, the first rate hike might actually be in June. This is according to the Fed Fund futures. Now, this number is basically, we're talking about 0.28 basis points in on the Fed fund rate. This most likely will change after the decision. Meaning, if the Fed actually taper faster, this means that the QE will end early, and this basically means that the first rate hike might come in even in either May or even in March. March, I guess, like it's far away, at least for within what we have right now. But this is what we will be watching. So we have Indonesia, India, South Africa, Uganda. Who's else? Yeah. So at the same time, about trading today, make sure that you watch your risk management carefully. I am not responsible for any kind of loss if you overtrade or if you over your risk. Meaning, we don't just basically follow a trade because we want to, or we follow the market just because we see. I mean, even now, like, okay, gold is 1760. It's at the low of the day. I would never short it. Okay, even if it goes to 1630 from here. Okay, always watch your risk management. Know how much you can afford to lose before talking about thinking about even any kind of profits. Okay, any kind of trades that I'll be taking, I'm risking literally 1% of at least 0.5 to 1% as an initial or as a first trade, and then I'll be doing. That's what I do. It depends on what you guys want to do. Okay. Hello from Palestine, Kenya. Okay, that's great. I'm going to talk about the risk management in Arabic, and then we'll have to head and see what the charts are telling us. موضوع التداول اليوم من جديد. أنا غير مسؤول عن أي شخص ممكن يقول لي إنه أنا خسرت الحساب، أو بغض النظر عن شو الخسائر كانت، إذا لا تستطيع فهم موضوع الريسك مانجمنت أو موضوع إدارة المخاطر. أوكي. السوق يتحرك عليك 300 نقطة أو تحرك بغض النظر قديش النسبة. إذا ما عندك دراية بموضوع نسب المخاطر وكيفية إدارة المخاطر، بكل بساطة لا داعي للتداول اليوم. أوكي. فهذه من ناحية. أوكي. All right, I'm going to read some questions now. How the decision will affect the market? Well, it all depends. It is not a black and white. موضوع كيف سيؤثر القرار الفدرالي على الأسواق، الموضوع مش أبيض ومش أسود. كله يعتمد على البيان للفدرالي. من الممكن أن يكون القرار الأول للفدرالي بأنه تخفيف تيسير الكمية، نعم، لكن المؤتمر الصحفي، البيان، توقعات الفدرالي، موضوع جدول ما يعرف بالدوت بلوت، جميع هذه الأمور تلعب دور. أوكي، فالموضوع مش أبيض وأسود. So it's not just a black and white. If the Fed tapers by dollar, no, it's definitely not this way. We'll have to look at the statement. We'll have to look at the dot plot. We'll have to look at the Fed fund futures after the news. After the decision, and we have to follow the press conference. The press conference, we are going to also broadcast it live. It will be on the side of the screen. And during the press conference, I will not be able to. We might not be trading. We don't know yet. Okay, but during the press conference, we will be listening to it, because that's the most important thing that we have to watch. I'm just gonna launch. Sorry, I have to go with just putting up CNBC here just to. Okay, fine. So that's what we have. So if we go back a little bit about technicals, as I said, so far we're looking into a little bit. I hope that we see some sort of a retracement to the downside before we jump onto the US dollar at least. British pound, who, if you're a client at FES, we're still within the trade since a week now. 132.04 since the previous streaming. Today we reached all the way to 132.79, and it went back down. So we will keep the stop at 131.95 and 130 on 132.04, and wait whether it will survive today or no. The low of the day was 32.06, but I don't want to risk any kind of like huge move during the day. So we are like 11 minutes away from the Fed. So that's one of the currencies I've been looking at for the past few weeks, because again, like it's been like way oversold. That might be another issue to deal with. All right. Close or set break even, it will be volatile. I mean, you can close it if you're afraid. You can just basically close it. If not, I mean, I will just keep my take profit. I'll keep my stop loss at break even. Okay, so that's another thing. So let's have a look just real quick at the markets and what is happening today. So today, U.S. Dow Jones has been able to recover a little bit. Now we're down just 19 points. S&P is 7 1/3. Nasdaq is the biggest loser for the past few weeks. So this is not something actually new. Do you expect to hear transitory again? No, I don't actually expect to hear transitory again, because that's what the Federal Reserve said. That's what Jerome Powell said in his testimony. He said that we have to retire this term. So we might see some sort of very interesting. It will be very interesting decision anyway. Okay, let's turn into Arabic just for a little bit. راح نحكي عن اليورو بقى، عن موضوع الانتخابات، عن الانتخابات بموضوع آخر. اليوم موضوع الفدرالي. اوكي، صوت والصورة لسه بعد واضحين للكل؟ المفروض واضحين. اليوم الجو سيء بالمكان اللي أنا موجود فيه، ف هناك حتى توقعات بأن يكون خلال فترة المساء ثلوج وعواصف. Okay. So, okay. Well, I mean, the video should be working perfectly, because again, like the speed is way too high, so I don't think so that we'll have any kind of technical issues today. So that's what is it? We have 9 minutes until the Federal Reserve decision. So one of the main things that I keep looking at is the British pound. That's one of them. The euro is kind of consolidating around the same area also since the beginning of the week. Market structures still look into more downside, but here this kind of consolidation might actually be bullish, but we'll have to wait. At the same time, options today, or market options so far, we're still looking at 5 days option. The highest volume remains at the 470 on S&P, which 4,700. Not far away, and it's kind of cheap, but we should be able to wait and see. All right, USD JPY, let's switch to G87 and have a look at JPY. Gold, well, dollar yen is also doing the same thing. This might be also another thing to keep an eye on. I would like to see a little bit more into 1440. Technically, that would be a very good short if we get actually there. So that's for one. Gold, I'm not interested too much today after the break that we saw over the the past few hours. We have this one here. We should see whether this one, if it's going to be a fake breakdown or if it's going to be another short-term retracement. But at the same time, on the short-term retracement here, we have the 61.8 is already broken even on this cycle, or if we do this cycle here, we're at these levels here. So it's going to be very tricky, but again, as I said, just bear with me during the decision. We'll see what we will do, and then we will we will be able to see how can we trade it, if we'll be able to trade. Anyway, a small commercial break, and we'll be right back. All right. All right. USD Cad is overextended to me, I guess. USD Cad is way overextended, so that might be another. I mean, if you just have a look at this area here, we have 4 minutes left. We can still talk about it. I mean, this whole area is, and the RSI is like close to 70, so still giving me some sort of like a reason to short it more than to buy it. But we'll have to wait and see. But I can buy it here anyway. Okay. Gold, XAU, USD, as I already said, not interested to short right now. We'll have to wait and see what the Federal Reserve will do, and then we will figure what we will do. So here is Ian again. Let's take out this one. So that's the CAD, and for XAU, that's for gold. We'll have to watch this one here. It's very tricky. We're at 61.8% Fibonacci from the previous rally. We saw 50% bounce, which means that it's kind of the right cycle, but the question remains if it's going to break down from here. If so, I'll still wait for another retracement before dumping it again. Okay. I feel Fed would delay inflation till next year. What do you mean by delay inflation? What do you mean by delay inflation? All right, we have 4 minutes until the Fed, and then fireworks. And at some point, we hope that we will be able to celebrate, as always, with some confetti. But here we are, 70 or less than 4 minutes away. Yeah, sorry about the confetti, but that's just that was just a test. Okay, we'll see what we will do. باقي على الفدرالي حوالي تقريبا أقل من 3 دقائق كالعادة. سننتظر البيان أولا ومن ثم نعلق عليه. الانتباه إلى نسب المخاطر من جديد للجميع. لست مسؤول عن أي شخص يقوم بنسب مخاطرة عالية. مش هقول كلمة ثانية. ما في شيء اسمه خبر إيجابي أو سلبي. It's not about positive or negative. It's not black and white. الموضوع مش أبيض وأسود، إيجابي أو سلبي. الموضوع محكوم في كثير من الأمور بما فيها الفوائد، بما فيها أيضا موضوع كمية تخفيف التيسير الكمي، توقعات الفدرالي، جدول توقعات أعضاء الفدرالي، وأيضا المؤتمر الصحفي. فالموضوع مش أبيض وأسود. Okay? It's not black and white again. Dow Jones is still 35. Let's have a look here. What we were waiting for? Hold on. Once the data comes out, also, I'm going to just post it on the screen. So bear with me once they do so. So please do not act as if it's like it's either positive or negative, and don't ask this question that is it positive, is it negative? We don't know. It's not going to be black and white. ما حدا يسأل السؤال بأنه هل الخبر إيجابي هل الخبر سلبي، ما بنعرف. الموضوع مش أبيض وأسود، مبني على مجموعة من الأمور نقرأها بعدين نفهمها، وإذا كان هناك احتمالية للتداول نتعامل معها. So again, I would like to stress one more time. Watch your risk. Do not react to the numbers. Don't ask if it's positive or negative. It is not black and white. We should read the statement and then we'll see if we will be able to trade today or no. All right. So here we go. We are 30 seconds away. Yeah, wait and see. Simple. Water, coffee. Standby terminal count. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and here we go. So median forecast shows contribute delay evaluation inflation shows 3 hikes in 2021. Pace of tapering 30 billion. موضوع التخفيف تيسير الكم وصل إلى 30 مليار، احتمالية رفع الفوائد 3 مرات خلال العام المقبل، ولا زال الفدرالي يتوقع أن يكون لدينا ارتفاع في معدلات التضخم. So that's the initial reaction. Okay, initial reaction is good for the dollar. Now we're seeing all the way down here. Let's have a look at the British pound. I did not take anything. One more time, I repeat. So the Federal Reserve kept, of course, the interest rate as it is. Taper is now 30 billion instead of 15 billion. And the Federal Reserve expects to hike 3 times in 2022 and 3 times in 2023. Okay, I'm going to write the news just on the screen, but right now I am not doing anything because this move is kind of impulsive. All right, here's the news. It's all the way up on the screen. So initial reaction so far, we have the British pound, nothing much really at the new low here. And let's go ahead and have a look at the dollar index. Oh, that's the euro. Where's the dollar index? Euro back dollar. Solve that one. British pound is also new lows. And here's the dollar indexes, keeps pushing higher. Am I right? Am I going to buy here? No. I'm just going to wait for the pullback. But so far, this is actually positive. Okay, means the Federal Reserve is expecting to raise rates 3 times. So let's have a look at the Fed Fund futures now, if it's going to change anytime soon. So here is the thing. 15, that's 29, still the same. Nothing much really, slightly the same, but we'll have to give it some time. G87. All right, we'll speak a little bit in Arabic, but so far I have no trades for us, at least for the time being. حديث باللغة العربية. البنك الاحتياطي الفدرالي الأمريكي يزيد موضوع برنامج تسريع إنهاء التيسير الكمي من 15 مليار إلى 30 مليار. يتوقع رفع أسعار الفوائد 3 مرات في عام 2022 و3 مرات في عام 2023. يتوقع استمرار ارتفاع التضخم. وهنا أيضا here is the Fed. Oh, let's look. Let's just read the statement. نقرأ البيان بشكل تفصيلي. التصويت من قبل أعضاء الفدرالي بالإجماع بالكامل. Fed says like FOMC votes anonymously. Nobody actually rejected that. Nobody opposed that decision. Job gains is solid. Unemployment has declined substantially. بأنه ارتفاع الوظائف لا زال ممتاز، وأن معدلات البطالة تراجعت إلى مستويات مهمة جدا. الفدرالي يبقي أسعار الفوائد دون تغير ما بين interest rates on reserves also at 0.15, discount rate as it is. Target range, or the Federal Reserve target range, remains at 0 to 0.25%. So also, that's the most important thing, the Federal Reserve also drops reference to inflation being transitory. البنك الاحتياطي الفدرالي الأمريكي يشطب كلمة بأنه التضخم مؤقت. هذه أحد الأمور. That's another important thing, that the Federal Reserve actually drops the statement. Okay. So far, this is actually bullish for the dollar. But now we'll have to look for where are we going to take that. How are we doing? Hold on. 30 chart. All right. Also, swaps show 3/4 points hikes price for 2022. All right. No trades yet, but here's the thing. Also, future assets buying taper is likely to pay some with January. Fed to just pace of buying. Also, there's still also the Federal Reserve is kind of opening the way for further fastering the taper. So الفدرالي كذلك الامر يبقي الباب مفتوح الى احتماليه تسريع تخفيف التيسير الكمي بشكل اكبر من الحالي. على ما يبدو انه الاسواق اخذت هذا الموضوع على محمل الجد. على محمل الجد. So positive for the dollar so far, but we are not going to take any kind of decision yet. Okay, let's go and have a look at, first of all, let's go G87. All right, everybody is listening? Fine. So let's go ahead and look at something that is not way oversold, just like the euro here. On the daily chart is not that bad. And let's go ahead at 15. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep waiting. I'm not going into that one. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. Gold is back 1761. British pound is also back to where it was right before the decision. Aussie, Kiwi, everything is almost back to where they were. Okay. Everything is back to where it used to be, including the British pound. So this is positive, but at the same time, it looks like here's the British pound. Okay. We're going to look at Fed Fund futures one more time. Yeah. Okay. So now instead of June or May, June and May, now there is one. Here's a slight change. But anyway, we'll have to wait for it. G87, 10-year yield still 180.45. I haven't taken anything yet. I'm just watching. Now here's the most important levels that we keep an eye on. But for the time being, I haven't taken anything yet. All right, I'm just watching, just like you do. So this is basically faster tapering, faster rate hikes. So a little bit in Arabic. الخبر فعليا يعتبر خبر ايجابي للدولار، بمعنى تسريع لتخفيف التيسير الكمي بدل 15 30 يعتبر جيد، لانه اقل سبلاي للدولار او اقل معروض للدولار. هذه واحد. اثنين، رفع اسعار الفوائد بشكل اسرع، او ثلاثه بدل اثنين. يبقى نوعا ما ضمن التوقعات، لكن بس موضوع الثلاثه رفعات في العامين المقبلين. موضوع انه التضخم سيصل الى مستويات او سيبقى عند هذه المستويات، اعتقد انه لن يدوم طويلا بكل الاحوال. Let's just sit down first. I am actually looking into risking some gold here. I am looking to risk. So it is positive dollar, but it is positive dollar on the medium term, more on the short term. So I'm just going to go ahead and have a look at XAU, because this is this kind of move that we're seeing here is what we want. That's the 61. So I'm just gonna wait for a little bit more time before jumping on gold, because I believe gold might actually go back to where it was before. So I'll just give it a little bit more time. I can't just jump on it here. So just give it a little bit more time. I'm just gonna give it a little bit more time. No trades for me yet. لا يوجد تداولات حاليا، لكن ممكن أن نقوم ب بيع دولار أمام بعض العملات، ليس كل العملات، وننتظر موضوع أسعار الذهب. So the first thing is on watch is gold for now, and coming out after we have also silver. Those are the main two things that I'm watching, at least for the time being. So, but there's no trades for me yet. There's nothing that we can talk about, at least for the time being. Oh, this actually look good. I have just to do one thing just real quick. 1 second. All right. Equities up, gold up, silver is also building up. I'm going to give it a little bit more time. Wow. All right. Some call options here for S&P. I know none of you guys are interested in call options in equities, but it looks like center rally has already begun. Let's wait and see. Maintain zero rates until maximum FOMO is achieved also, so no big huge rate hikes. What do you mean what are the numbers? We already said the numbers. Okay. بنفس الوقت لن يكون هناك رفع لأسعار الفوائد بالنسبة للفدرالي حتى يتم الوصول إلى أهداف أخرى. Okay, we are actually going. I'm thinking about the British pound more than gold, more than silver. Okay, you know what? That's a good risk reward. I'm going to go ahead with the British pound. I'm going to go ahead with the British pound. I like it here, even though, and just basically we can after closing cities, Miami, Okay, 132.11 on the British pound. I'm going to go long. $132.09, 08, 07. I'll let you know once I execute. Yeah, looks like the center rally has already begun. So I haven't taken anything yet, but I'm looking at the British pound and gold. Those are the main ones that we're looking at for the time being. They're the ones I'm looking at for the time being. All right, let's open up that. Yeah, 5. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. I'm still watching. لا تداولات بعد، لا زلنا ننظر. 3202. There's the dollar index here. The dollar keeps still kind of pushing higher too. Are we going to change our minds again? If it keeps pushing higher from here, let's go. What do you extend it? All right. Well, we're going to just keep on holding. We're just going to keep on holding. 3202. Oh, 2. Nothing yet. I haven't taken any. I'm looking at possible trades in gold and the British pound. I'm looking at gold and the British pound as first for possible trades for now. Nothing much, really. Conference but travel advisory. Let's just have a look real quick at WRP if there is any chance. All right, here we go, the change. So now it is basically, we're talking about almost 90% chance the Federal Reserve might actually, in April, Fed fund futures pricing in possible rate hike. Oh, that's still positive dollar. That's can't actually do. All right, nothing yet. We are just watching. Where is it going? G87. One more time. 132. Back to it. Back in. Think euro is selling, pullback is confirmed. USD strong. It is still strong, yes. But the problem is a little bit overextended, maybe. It keeps pushing hard from here. But again, I'm still flat. I haven't taken anything. And we might just trade around the same area until Mr. Powell comes in. What was the 5 days? All right. What day stop might be when? Oh, okay. Markets are not moving. Don't force a trade. Markets are not moving much. We're back to where we were before the decision. Don't force a trade. Don't need to force a trade. You know, if the news is good, for all the why betting against it now. Question. No, that's totally fine because I mean, again, but dollar is kind of like a little bit overextended, and it's been going up for the past 3 days too. So we might see some sort of a retracement. We could benefit from that. But so far, I'm just watching. Nothing much really. Just watching. Anyway, Mr. Paul should be on in a little bit. So let's just put that on the screen. Yeah, I'm just gonna post it on the screen so you guys can see it. Copy video URL. Guess that's how it is. Media. Oh, not media. Okay. I'm just gonna post it. Let's go for the camera on top. And then take the main screen off. And then bring back. Okay. Let's go ahead and put that. Okay. I'm not taking any trades yet. Yeah, I'm not taking any trades yet. حتى الآن مفيش توصيات. نستنى ونشوف. Guys, don't force any, you don't need to force a trade. What is the only thing that is moving? Gold and equities. Sorry, oil and equities. Everything else is back to where it was before. So don't force a trade. You guys are able to listen. You'll see where this should go. One second. Okay. Don't force a trade. All right, here's back to dollar. Maybe even not here. Equities is back lower. Lightly a little bit. And here's what it is, but let's see. Okay, nothing much really yet. Nothing much really yet. Where is VLC though? I haven't taken anything yet. Okay, so just sit down and relax until we see what we can do. Because so far I don't see that huge of a deal. Yeah, that most likely. 25th, not that. All right, well, that's good for you. Okay. Chair's Paul already starting the press conference right now, so let's head there and see what he's going to talk about.
Progress that the economy has made toward the criteria specified in the committee's forward guidance for interest rates. In addition, in light.
Okay, guys, we'll have to listen to it and then we'll come back and see what we can do during that, but we'll have to wait and listen.
We'll explain economic developments and changes in the outlook warrant this evolution of monetary policy, which will continue to provide appropriate support for the economy. Economic activity is on track to expand at a robust pace this year, reflecting progress on vaccinations and the reopening of the economy. Aggregate demand remains very strong, buoyed by fiscal and monetary policy support and the healthy financial positions of households and businesses. The rise in COVID cases in recent weeks, along with the emergence of the Omicron variant, pose risks to the outlook. Notwithstanding the effects of the virus and supply constraints, FOMC participants continue to foresee rapid growth. As shown in our summary of economic projections, the median projection for real GDP growth stands at 5.5% this year and 4% next year. Amid improving labor market conditions and very strong demand for workers, the economy has been making rapid progress toward maximum employment. Job gains have been solid in recent months, averaging 378,000 per month over the last 3 months. The unemployment rate has declined substantially, falling 0.6 of a percentage point since our last meeting and reaching 4.2% in November. The recent improvements in labor market conditions have narrowed the differences in employment across groups, especially for workers at the lower end of the wage distribution, as well as for African Americans and Hispanics. Labor force participation showed a welcome rise in November, but remains subdued, in part reflecting the aging of the population and retirements. In addition, some who otherwise would be seeking work report that they are out of the labor force because of factors related to the pandemic, including caregiving needs and ongoing concerns about the virus. At the same time, employers are having difficulties filling job openings and wages are rising at their fastest pace in many years. How long the labor shortages will persist is unclear, particularly if additional waves of the virus occur. Looking ahead, FOMC participants project the labor market to continue to improve, with the median projection for the unemployment rate declining to 3.5% by the end of the year. Compared with the projections made in September, participants have revised their unemployment rate projections noticeably lower for this year and next. Supply and demand imbalances related to the pandemic and the reopening of the economy have continued to contribute to elevated levels of inflation. In particular, bottlenecks and supply constraints are limiting how quickly production can respond to higher demand in the near term. These problems have been larger and longer lasting than anticipated, exacerbated by waves of the virus. As a result, overall inflation is running well above our 2% longer run goal and will likely continue to do so well into next year. While the drivers of higher inflation have been predominantly connected to the dislocations caused by the pandemic, price increases have now spread to a broader range of goods and services. Wages have also risen briskly, but thus far, wage growth has not been a major contributor to the elevated levels of inflation. We are attentive to the risks that persistent real wage growth in excess of productivity could put to upward pressure on inflation. Like most forecasters, we continue to expect inflation to decline to levels closer to our 2% longer run goal by the end of next year. The median inflation projection of FOMC participants falls from 5.3% this year to 2.6% next year. This trajectory is notably higher than projected in September. We understand that high inflation imposes significant hardship, especially on those least able to meet the higher costs of essentials like food, housing, and transportation. We are committed to our price stability goal. We will use our tools both to support the economy and a strong labor market and to prevent higher inflation from becoming entrenched. We will be watching carefully to see whether the economy is evolving in line with expectations. The Fed's monetary policy actions have been guided by our mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. In support of these goals, the committee reaffirmed the 0 to 1/4% target range for the federal funds rate. We also updated our assessment of the progress the economy has made toward the criteria specified in our forward guidance for the federal funds rate. With inflation having exceeded 2% for some time, the committee expects it will be appropriate to maintain this target range until labor market conditions have reached levels consistent with the committee's assessments of maximum employment. All FOMC participants forecast that this remaining test will be met next year. The median projection for the appropriate level of the federal funds rate is 0.9% at the end of 2022, about a half percentage point higher than projected in September. Participants expect a gradual pace of policy firming, with the level of the federal funds rate generally near estimates of its longer run level by the end of 2024. Of course, these projections do not represent a committee decision or plan, and no one knows with any certainty where the economy will be a year or more from now. At today's meeting, the committee also decided to double the pace of reductions in its asset purchases. Beginning in mid-January, we will reduce the monthly pace of our net asset purchases by $20 billion for Treasury securities and $10 billion for agency mortgage-backed securities. If the economy evolves broadly as expected, similar reductions in the pace of net asset purchases will likely be appropriate each month, implying that increases in our securities holdings would cease by mid-March, a few months sooner than we anticipated in early November. We are phasing out our purchases more rapidly because with elevated inflation pressures and a rapidly strengthening labor market, the economy no longer needs increasing amounts of policy support. In addition, a quicker conclusion of our asset purchases will better position policy to address the full range of plausible economic outcomes. We remain prepared to adjust the pace of purchases if warranted by changes in the economic outlook.
All right, guys, I have to interrupt here because Jay Powell just added one thing, which is the most important so far. He expects a gradual pace of policy firming, meaning they're not actually like in kind of any rush. Expect the economy to reach maximum employment goal in 2022. That is actually not bad, which basically gives us the ability to some sort of like short the dollar against some currencies. But to start with, I'm going to go again with the British pound, 132.04. Can you all hear me? 132.04. I'm going back again. But the stop is going to be very, 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 very tight. One more time. I'm going to post it on the screen. You should all be able to hear me anyway. That's the first trade, 132.04 on the British pound. The stop is only 131.80. So we're talking about like less than 20. That is our first one. I'm going to post it also on the screen so you all be able to see it. I'm buying the British pound against the dollar, 132.04. All right. And the next one, and that's again, I'm risking 1% for this trade. It is all about you, whatever you want to risk. Second one is gold. Where is it? Go open it. I'm going to post it on the screen, but first, let me do. That is the first one, and I'm going to post it just right now on the screen. I don't know why this happens sometimes, but one headline. Okay. That's the first trade, 0.4. Second one, I'm going to jump on gold here, 2. شراء الجنيه الاسترليني مقابل الدولار 1.3204. الوقف على 1.3180. Okay. Let it be. We're talking about just short-term trades. شراء الجنيه الاسترليني وهي على الشاشة. شراء الجنيه الاسترليني مع وقف بسيط عند 1.3080. It's on the screen, guys. On the screen. There we go. And then gold, I'm just going to keep watching it, but for the time being, that's my trade. That's the first trade. British pound, that is my first trade. Okay? That is the first trade. I said long, not short. It's on the screen. Long, not short. And make sure that yes, we won't raise rates until after taper finish. You see, so here's another thing they just said, that they're not going to raise rates until after tapering. So within tapering, they're not going to raise rates. That is slightly negative for dollar. But on the short term, anyway, 32.14 British pound. التوصية شراء الجنيه الاسترليني يا جماعة، مالنا شراء الجنيه الاسترليني على 1.3204. الوقت 1.32 31.80. Stop is on the screen, guys. 130, 180. $130, $180. All right, we're gonna go back to that is my only trade for the time being. It went back to you, 132.04. Okay, back to entry. But that's my only trade for the time being. In here, no decision on timing gap between taper and rate hike. لا يوجد هناك قرار ما بين الفترة ما بين إنهاء برنامج التيسير الكمي و فترة إنهاء التيسير الكمي ورفع أسعار الفوائد. just نفذوا أنت 132.08. All right, fine. We'll listen back to the questions because these are one of the most important things. So let's see.
We had in February of 2020, and I think early on the sense was that's where we were headed. The post-pandemic labor market and the economy in general will be different, and the maximum level of employment that's consistent with price stability evolves over time within a business cycle and over a longer period, in part reflecting evolution of the factors that affect labor supply, including those related to the pandemic. So I would say, look, we're at 4.2% now, and the unemployment rate has been dropping very quickly. So we're already in the vicinity of 4%. The way in which the important metric that has been disappointing really has been labor force participation, of course, where I had certainly thought that last fall, as unemployment insurance ran off, as vaccinations increased, as schools reopened, that we would see a significant surge, if you will, or at least a surge in labor force participation. So we've begun to see some improvement. We've certainly welcomed the 0.2 improvement that we got in the November report, but I do think that it feels likely now that the return to higher participation tend to recover in the wake of a strong recovery in unemployment, which is what we're getting right now. So it could well have been that this cycle was different because of the short nature of it and the very strong the number of job openings, for example. You would have thought that would have pulled people back in, but really it's the pandemic, it's a range of factors. But the reality is we don't have a strong labor force participation recovery yet, and we may not have it for some time. At the same time, we have to make policy now, and inflation is well above target. So this is something we need to take into account.
If I could follow up, you've talked recently about risk management, and so does that mean that the committee might feel compelled to raise interest rates before you're convinced that you've achieved the employment test in your forward guidance?
So this is not at all a decision that the committee has made, but you're really asking a question about how our framework works. And yes, there's a provision, what used to be called the balanced approach provision, that says in effect that in situations in which the pursuit of the maximum employment goal and the price stability goal are not complementary, we have to take account of the distance from the goal and the speed at which we're approaching it. And so that is in effect an off-ramp which could, in concept, be taken, and it's in our framework. It's been in our framework a long time. I've talked about it on a number of occasions. It is a provision that would enable us to, in this case, because of high inflation, move before achieving maximum employment. Now, as I said, we're making rapid progress toward maximum employment in my thinking, in my opinion, and I don't at all know that we'll have to invoke that paragraph. But just as a factual matter, that is part of our framework and has been really for a very long time.
Thank you.
Thanks. We'll go to Howard at Reuters.
Thanks, as usual. So I guess I got to ask about the elephant in the room.
More on Powell right now that they might actually hike before maximum employment. That's still, again, the market's still in a good shape, at least, even though Powell is trying just to, as much as possible, to be very balanced. So the last one he said just could hike before reaching maximum employment. So far, the market is still holding well. I might actually risk gold, as I said, but I'm still watching if it's kind of looking good here, but it's kind of reluctant to. The British pound entry is still good, but we need some sort of push now. Oh, sorry about Uncle Jerome. Okay, we're gonna go back to it. So far, gold still on hold.
Wave upon wave, people are learning to live with this. More and more people are getting vaccinated. So people who get the new variant, it affects them much less than it tends to affect in the aggregate people who are not vaccinated. So the more people get vaccinated, the less the economic effect. It doesn't mean it won't have an economic effect. Delta had an effect of slowing down hiring, and it actually it had an effect on global supply chains, and that sort of that hurt the process of the global supply chains getting worked out. So it can have an economic effect. I just think at this point we don't know much. We'll know a whole lot more in 3 weeks, and we'll know more than that in 6 weeks.
But if I could follow up, you're clearly from a risk standpoint comfortable putting away one of your tools pretty soon. Sort of.
Hey guys, I'm gonna jump on gold. It's just good risk reward kind of. I'm just gonna go with the minimum. Here's the British pound is good. I'm just gonna go with 66 on gold right now, right here. 1766. شراء الذهب على 1766 من المستويات الحالية. 1766 من المستويات الحالية. Long gold 1766 for the time being, and the stop will be mentioned shortly. All right. It's on the screen. Gold also 1766. شراء الذهب 1766. الوقف عند مستوى جلسة اليوم. Okay. Oh, you guys you should be hearing us. Okay, well, I was just telling you the trade, but anyway, the trades are on the screen. Congrats for whatever, and let's go back to Paul.
November meeting. It was the Friday before the November meeting, and it was very high, 5.7% reading for the employment compensation index for the third quarter, not annualized, for the third quarter, just before the meeting. And I thought for a second there whether we should increase our taper. Decided to go ahead with what we had socialized. And then right after that, we got the next Friday after the meeting, 2 days after the meeting, we got a very strong employment report, and revisions to prior readings, and no increase in labor supply. And the Friday after that, we got the CPI, which was a very high reading. And I honestly, at that point, really decided that I thought we needed.
All right, here we go. We're going good on the British pound, at least 132.04, 132.42. Gold is back to 70. It's good for the dollar, but it's good not for today. At least for today, we have like some sort of retracement. All right. It is still good for the dollar, but not for today. Okay, this is going to change in the next few days, but for now, we will be using this kind of retracement. Okay. Okay, who took the British pound trade and gold trade? Okay, well, the British pound now you have over 40. You have over 40 pips. I will leave the take profit for you guys. If you're afraid of any kind of loss, move your stop to break even 132.04 and let it run. Let it run for today, for tomorrow, whatever you would like. Okay, if you're happy with 35, 20 pips, whatever, take it and leave. If you're happy with that one, take it and leave. موضوع التيك بروفيت او اللي هي المستويات المستهدفه حاليا عندنا اكثر من 40 نقطه على الجنيه الاسترليني. راح اترك موضوع الاهداف لكم للمتداولين. اللي خايف يخسر بحط الوقف تبعك على محل مدخلات 32.04 وخليها تمشي. الذهب we're still watching. Gold nothing much. I'm still in it 1766. And we'll watch until the end of the day. Okay. Anybody has any questions before we go back to Paul? Stephanie on gold. All right, we're going back to Paul.
The SEP is not a plan. It's not something we debate, negotiate over, or really discuss in terms of what the right answer should be. People write down their assumptions, their assessment of appropriate policy based on their economic forecast. And so the median, what you're talking about, the 3 rate increases, that's the median of the committee. The median of the committee is also that growth will be 4%, and then unemployment will be 3.5% by the end of the year. So that's a really strong economy. And of course, if the economy turns out to be quite different from that, then so will the rate. No one will say, oh, we can't change our policy because we wrote something down in December. That no one's ever said that or will. It will. The actual rate decisions we make will depend on our evolving assessment of the forecast. So, for example, if the economy were to slow down significantly, then you would expect that that would have an effect of slowing down rate increases. But we'd have to, we look at our two goals, maximum employment and price stability, and we make policy based on them and not with respect to what we wrote down in a prior SDP.
Thank you. Let's go to Victoria Guida at Politico.
Hi, Chair Powell. I wanted to follow up on maximum employment. So, the new framework was basically designed, as I understand it, so that there was a de-emphasis on guessing where inflation would pick up because of employment. And basically, you were going to wait until you saw the whites of the eyes of inflation, and that's how you would kind of know that you reached maximum employment. So I'm wondering, you've talked a lot about the different ways that you might measure maximum employment, but from what I understand, and that's still basically the way that you know that you're there, is inflation. So is that understanding correct? And how are those signals likely to be clear right now, given that you have inflation that's caused by these supply chain disruptions that might also lead to inflation in wages and those sorts of things? So how do you sort of tease out the signal of maximum employment?
Okay, so let me start by saying that the inflation that we got was not at all the inflation we were looking for or talking about in the framework. It really was a completely different thing. It was to do with, strong monetary policy and fiscal stimulus into an economy that was recovering rapidly and in which there were these supply side barriers, which effectively led to, in certain parts of the economy, what you might call a vertical supply curve. So, automobile purchases are very interest rate sensitive, and you would think demand would drive up the quantity of cars, but it can't because they don't have semiconductors. So that was a very different kind of inflation. This is not the inflation we were looking for under our framework at all. It's nothing to do with our framework, and the way we've approached it is really nothing to do with our framework. But come to maximum employment, which is really your question. How do you know? So I think you look at prices and quantities. If you want to look at maximum employment, you look at prices and quantities, and the main price you look at is wages. It's one of the things you look at, and it's so I mentioned a number of the things. You could get to 20 if you wanted to easily, but labor force participation, the unemployment rate, different age groups of prime age labor force participation in particular gets a lot of focus. The JOLTS data get a lot of focus, and wages. That's really one of the great signals. The quits rate is another one. The quits rate is really one of the very best indicators, according to a lot of labor economists, because people quit because they feel like they can get a better job, and there's record amounts, historically high levels of that going on, suggesting again that you've got a very tight labor market. So on wages, that's the price indicator we look at. To tell us, along with all the other data, whether we have labor market conditions that are consistent with maximum employment, and so that's how we think about it. But the one of the complications is that again we've got to make policy in real time. So how do we think about that? If we think we can make labor, participation might move up. If let's say we knew that it would start to move up in 2 years, would we wait 2 years or when inflation is running way above target? Probably not. So you have to make an assessment that what is the level of maximum employment that is consistent with price stability in real time is one way to think about it.
Just to kind of follow up on that for a second, if you do raise interest rates next year and you're not certain whether you're at maximum employment, I mean, are you all going to point when you raise interest rates? Are you going to
ممكن ناخذ تريد ثالثة بلشنا طبعا من أول. Another trade for the day, I'm not sure yet, to be honest. But that will be just 2 trades for the time being, and we'll just keep holding it. No need to stress more much. Here we go, gold, 1770.
So we would not in any way want to foreclose the idea that the labor market can get even better. But again, with inflation as high as it is, we have to make policy in real time. We've got to make that assessment in real time.
Thank you. We'll go to Olivia from Bloomberg.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair
All right,
Powell, and thank you for taking our
1771.
questions. I wanted to follow up on some of your earlier comments about labor force participation.
You know what time it is? Maybe it's time to celebrate, or maybe just wait a little bit.
So whether running the economy hot, like in the last expansion, is one way of doing that.
Well, the labor market is by so many measures hotter than it ever ran in the last expansion. If you think about it, you know, the ratio of job openings, for example, to vacancies is at all-time highs. Quits, the wages, all those things are even hotter. But what would it take for labor force participation to move up more? You know, that really, why is it low is the question. So there are a bunch of answers, and all of them probably have some, you know, some validity. Part of it will be that people, for certain people, they don't want to go back in the labor force because either they're medically vulnerable or they're not comfortable going back while COVID is still everywhere. That's one thing. The lack of availability of childcare made for caretakers is certainly part of it, not just for children, but for older people. It has been pointed out by many that the stock market is high, people's portfolios are stronger. They may go back to being a one-income rather than a two-income family. The same thing with people's houses. People they have a mortgage, and with leverage, and the house price increases, the equity they have in their home might have doubled.
Wow, look at
and they might make.
Look at the candle on the US dollar index now. Wow. 72 gold. 72. Let's go back to that one. There we go. Okay, on 73, we'll celebrate. The British pound is 42. Going, keep it going. Let's get to the high. All right, time for a celebration. You know, what does that mean? Yeah, we did well, I guess. $72, $73. $32.50 British pound. Celebration. More celebration. 73, 74. Keep it going. Here's the 50 for the British pound. That was fun. 74. Oh, we got a 66. We got a 66. All right, I guess my job is done today. أعتقد إنه المهمة انتهت اليوم، أو المهمة اكتملت. أعتقد إنه المهمة اكتملت اليوم، وحان وقت حان وقت الاحتفال. بكل الأحوال. Gold, if you guys want to go out, go out. If you want to just put your stop at break even and let it go, that's totally fine too. It is all up to you now. All right, got you the perfect entry. 32.04. Now we have over 50. Gold, the same thing. Here's a new high in gold. 1766 was the high. We're almost in $10 in gold. So I guess it is all up to you guys now. All right. أعتقد أنه مهمتي انتهت لجلسة تداولات اليوم. أخذنا الجنيه الاسترليني 32.04، عندنا 50 نقطة مبدئيا. الذهب كذلك الأمر قريب $10 تقريبا. أعتقد أنه مهمتي اليوم قد انتهت. بالنسبة للمستويات المستهدفة سأترك الموضوع لكم. اللي حابب يسكر الجنيه الاسترليني على 50 أو 45 أو 40 نقطة جو هيد. اللي حابب يسكر الذهب على $8 برضه جو هيد. حابين اللي حابب يخليها برضه ممكن تحطوا الوقف عند مستويات الدخول وترك هذه العمليات خلال نهاية جلسة اليوم أو خلال لجلسة يوم غد. لكن مهمتي لليوم قد انتهت. 75. All right. I think my job is done for the day. Because also I have scheduled for an interview. Yeah. I have an interview scheduled. Because we have an interview on CNBC in a little bit. So, all right, guys. One last. Anything else? Anybody have any questions before we leave? Also, please, if you can do me a huge favor. If you would like to share also your trades on social media, this is my Twitter and this is my Instagram. If you can do me a favor and tag me, share these trades on Twitter and Instagram. They're both the same. Share them on social media, tag me, and I will also retweet and tag you with the rest. And yeah, there's, I guess, also, that's the end of the press conference as well. I don't know what else that we can do. My job is done here. So thank you so much for coming today. And I hope, and congrats to everybody who joined us today. It was another great stream. Just one thing I would like to point out again, this is how we trade. It's not always about like just reacting to the numbers. We read the statement, we read the expectations, we see how the market reacts, and then we'll react to it, okay? The initial reaction for everybody was like, yeah, buy dollar, but guess what? That's what the opposite just happened, okay? مهمتي انتهت لليوم. شكرا للجميع على الحضور ومبروك للجميع على كل اللي أخذ سواء الجنيه الاسترليني أو حتى الذهب. لكن هدول أكثر شيء فضلتهم خلال جلسة اليوم. لكن هذه هي الطريقة. ليس فقط التفاعل مع الأرقام أو لأنه الرسم بلش يطلع بنشتري وبنبيع، على عكس ذلك. شاهدتوا على ما أعتقد بشكل مباشر كيف يتم تداول مثل هذه الأخبار اللي هي مش معروف ما هي أو كيفية أن ما هي الأخبار عندما تخرج. لكن قرأنا البيان، انتظرنا حركة الأسواق، عالجنا موضوع السندات، موضوع أيضا الأسواق الأمريكية بشكل عام، وهذه هي النتيجة. اشترينا عن مستويات مهمة جدا واشترينا عن مستويات ممتازة جدا سواء كان للذهب أو جنيه استرليني. تمام. حطيت اللي هو الانستغرام والتويتر تبعي على الكومنتس. صوروا التداولات، اعملوا لي تاج وبعمل لكم ريتويت كمان خلال جلسة اليوم. Okay, guys, thank you so much again for coming. As I said, please put these trades on social media. Show me what you did. What did you do? And I put my Instagram and my Twitter. Also on social media, tag me, put pictures, tweet, whatever, picture, story, whatever you want to do. And I'll see you once again next time. I don't know when, but possibly next week. Here's for the final celebration before we sign off. Congrats, everybody. Have a good one.